Hello, listeners and audience. This is Divya, and I'm so thrilled to be here with you. And I'm super thrilled because I have Magdalena Mook, and she goes by Magda. I just want to kind of give a brief experience that I experienced with her. What was amazing was that she is CEO of ICF. She is leading coaches all across the globe, and she has the humility and grace of a leader and an influencer. And folks, that's what I like to talk about, that who is an influencer. So we have a real influencer, not only in action, but in her nature and in everything. So it's a delight to have you on my show. So thank you for joining us, Magda, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Divya. Thank you for the invitation and for this very, very generous introduction. Thank you.
Well, you do embody it. And I love that. So it's not only like, you're practicing what you're preaching or teaching. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
So let's start out from childhood. Do you recall any remarkable moments from your childhood?
It was a blast, I guess. So most people do know that I was born and raised in Poland, Europe. And, I think that I had the best of all worlds because although I grew up in big city in Warsaw, my grandparents owned a farm. So I spent a lot of time, especially during the vacation season on the farm, just learning about the nature. And I think that's something that I'm cherishing, that I had that opportunity to be close to nature and see things grow, see where food is coming from, and also the opportunity of being with people who are very hardworking and also very humble in where they come from and what they do in their lives. So the difference between, the farm of my grandparents, and both my parents were scientists, so the very different environment that I had at home, I think really opened up my eyes to the fact that people are more alike than different. They may just show it differently. And that sometimes just a small little adjustment is all, or encouragement, or feedback is all people need to change their lives around and change lives of people with whom they are in partnership and relationship. So I didn't know that when I was a child, but I think, thinking about it from a perspective of many years, that is something that being exposed to it so early in my life, I think formed who I am today.
And that I love to, and as you mentioned, going to farms, and I was very fortunate to have visited farms during my childhood and summertime, and there's just something different about, running out in the open fields and communing with nature. And even to this day, I find that nature is so healing, especially after you have gone through stress or something like that. Definitely agree on that point. So Magda, as you grew and as you went through your college and all that, what turn did your career take?
Several twists and turns. I have a bachelor's degree in economics and master's degree in international trade. So actually my very first career was in economic research service of the United States Department of Agriculture. However, I was operating projects in Central and Eastern Europe. So that again, I was always very curious about other cultures. So that was fantastic opportunity to learn more and work with many people in this many countries. And then upon moving to the United States, I actually changed careers and I became an assistant executive director for policy and development director for a non-for-profit organization called the Council of State Governments. So that's the organization that works with all three branches of the U.S. state government. Again, phenomenal opportunity to work with very talented people and also to see how policies are being formed, influenced, passed, and what impact they have on individuals organizations, states, the entire country, just learning about the rigor and necessity of thinking about all the consequences of whatever decisions are being made. And after 6 years with the CSG, I actually joined ICF. I joined ICF as an assistant executive director, and after 6 years have been promoted to the executive director role. And my gosh, it's 14 years since I started working with the ICF. People ask me like, oh, how is it possible that you stay with the same organization for so long? This is not a norm anymore. And my answer is that this is not the same organization. When I first joined ICF, we had 8,000 members. We have 32,000 now. We were predominantly North American. Right now, less than half of our population is in North America. We had about 1,000 credentialed coaches. We have 28,000, and so on and so forth. So it's, week to week, let alone year to year, this is not the same organization. And I'm very proud the fact that we are still growing, we are still expanding, we are finding our place in different areas of the world. And believe it or not, we're not slowing down in adding members from North America, United States in particular. So coaching is taking hold everywhere, and ICF, I'm super, super proud to say that ICF is a home for many professional coaches.
Oh, absolutely. And ICF brings so many beautiful values. And, for us as coaches, we go into this profession to live by our values. And to me, values are the compass that drives our life.
Absolutely.
ICF embodies a lot of those values, and especially, when we talk about competencies, bringing that relationship to that another level, not only for level for the client, but also for the level for coaches, that evening you're coaching, you're growing personally, and you're helping other people advance in personal life and in their career. And then, I really enjoy that you shared that ICF is growing, because there's so many times, you sit with different people and people will say, oh, you talk about a career as a coach, it seems like the market is getting saturated. So what would you say to that?
I think that we are far from a point of saturation, and there are several reasons for that. One is that there is much greater awareness of what coaching is and how coaching can be applied. Coaching started being, of course, offered to individuals. Then organizations took a hold of the idea of coaching. But at the beginning, coaching was offered maybe to the very top level leadership within the organizations. Now we know from our research that organizations that have strong coaching cultures offer coaching to just about anybody within their organizations. They offer it for onboarding, they offer it for high potentials, they offer it for growing the next cadre of leaders within the organizations. So naturally, the market for coaching services is growing much, much larger than it used to be. We also know about the phenomenon called the ripple effect. And it is that when individual works with a coach, they almost innately pick up some of the qualities of the coaching relationship. So they start having different style, if you will, of management and different style of conversation, even with their friends and colleagues and family. So other people are being touched by the fact that an individual was coached. So again, that awareness is growing beyond even the people who personally are experiencing coaching. And finally, another important aspect, I think, and it is that coaching is being used in the governments much more these days, and the social sector, not-for-profit sector, started being much more open and much more, again, aware of the fact that the coaching is available and that coaching can bring about phenomenal results to not-for-profit organizations as well. So, the market is growing, the awareness is growing, and also I think that people are smarter in their decisions. ICF as an organization, we do a lot of education about what coaching is and what coaching is not. And at the same time, we are giving a lot of tips to people of how to make sure that they are choosing the right person to work with. They are choosing a true professional, somebody who is following competencies and who is trained and prepared to offer this service.
Oh, great. And of course, as you have mentioned, about ripple effect, I have seen and experienced personally in my life when I worked with organizations and when I worked with coaches or when I worked with my clients. And you're saying that, so that was my experience. And it's great for you to reaffirm and reinforce that, coaching does have that power. So that's that, there is a negative connotation that has been experienced in recent years that, coaching is something negative. And we both know that that's not the case. And if somebody were to ask you, what's your perspective?
I think that in fact there was that opinion that coaching is a remedial function. That coaching is to fix a problem. In organizational setting, coaching is imposed on an individual who perhaps has performance issues, things like that. And this is true that coaching has been utilized in such capability as well. However, that perception really changed. And nowadays, coaching is being perceived more as a badge of honor. What we do know, again, from our studies with Human Capital Institute and PricewaterhouseCoopers, is that younger people, they demand to have coaching services available. It's like, I'm going to sign up, but I'm going to have a coach, right? It is a sign that the organization is investing in somebody. Coaching is an investment. Coaching is, we cannot afford not to have coaching because it is a growth. It is reaching the highest potential. And that means that an individual will be a better person, if you will, but also could be performing and contributing to whatever cause they may be a part of in a different manner, in a more focused and effective manner. So, and we do see it around the globe that perception of coaching being remedial really changed over time, and it's now being perceived very positively, and it's also being recognized for its transformative power. We have some phenomenal campaign, #ExperienceCoaching. These are some, you've probably seen some of the videos. Our clients of our members are talking about the impact that coaching had on them. We are having by the ICF Foundation, the Gift of Coaching campaign, which is talking about the pro bono initiatives that coaching is bringing about. And finally, we are having our Prism Award, which is recognizing organizations that are using coaching for expanding their strategic initiative, sustainable growth, and also, really helping people to reach their highest potential. So I think that when we do our studies, and by the way, our PwC study is in the field right now, the survey, we do ask about the attitudes of people towards coaching, and we see a very fast and gradual shift towards very positive recognition of what coaching is.
No, this is great, because when people talk about it, and it's important to bust these myths that, yes, these are the preconceived notions and perceptions that is out there. But, perception is not everything. It's about opening up your mind, and that coaching brings to the forefront. Mm-hmm. Talking about, there's another few questions like, okay, you are a coach, or you're bringing coaching to the organization, and what's the difference between having a mentor and a coach?
That's one of the fairly commonly asked questions. It is, what's the difference between coaching and counseling, and what's the difference between coaching and mentoring? And with mentoring, there is definitely a place for either, and both, because in a definition of coaching, as you know, one of the most important statements in that definition is that it is a partnership. The partnership suggests that there is, both parties are equal. There is not an expert and a learner. The coach is an expert in the process, but the coachee or a client is an expert in their own life or their own work. So it is truly a partnership between the two. Again, mentorship suggests that there is a wiser, more experienced individual who parts their experience with the learner. So in coaching, as you know, it is a conversation, it is a partnership. So again, not to say that one is more effective than the other. It just depends on what is the application. And many organizations and many individuals will probably tell you that both are extremely important and can change the lives. And at the same time, that partnership piece rather than the experience versus a learner is something that differentiates the two.
And I like what you mentioned, Magda, is that it's not either or situation, that you can only have mentorship or you can only have coaching. And one of the stories I'd like to share is that I'm a robotics team mentor, and these are all high schoolers where they're also, as youngsters, they have mentors and coaches both on teams. And it's beautiful, like how those combination of relationships plays out. Mm-hmm. And students learning how to handle the mechanics or developing the logistics or the programming of robotics, and yet at the same time they're learning how to work together, accommodate each other. And it's not just that I want to do it and I'll just jump in and do it, versus working together. And that's where coaching really plays together. And I'm very, very proud to say that our team last year won leadership award, and the judges called it out for emotional intelligence. So as young as they are, we're talking about the Gen Z generation. And as you said, that they're asking for coaches. So can you share some of your findings about Gen Z and how coaching can play a role in that life?
Yeah, Gen Zs are different. So, there is so much talk about millennials. And one thing that it's kind of funny is that millennials are a very large population. So many organizations, research organizations, including PwC, with whom we work, suggest that there are at least 3 bands within the millennial population. And then there are Gen Zs. So Gen Zs come to be different. They are very much into collaboration. They're very much into togetherness, into let's work on it together and let's look into a solution. We don't have to fix the problem. We're finding the solution and we can do it together. They are very interested in having a say, in being a part of a conversation, and in contributing to something being bigger than just themselves. And much to what you said about working with the team, and congratulations for the award.
Thank you.
It seems that they are very appreciative and respectful of mentors. However, they really love working with coaches because they want to progress. They want to evolve. There was one study, I want to say from McKinsey recently, and it was only about Brazilian market, so perhaps could not be extrapolated to the entire Gen Z population. But the major finding that was a revelation for me was that the Gen Zs assume that during their lifetime, they're gonna change, they're gonna evolve, and they're gonna be different people. There are stages, and they are perfectly fine with that, in fact prepared for that. And they were found to say, I can tell you who I am today, but it does not define me for my entire life. Mm-hmm. As I experience different things, as I contribute to different things, it may be a little different, which I was laughing because, of course, I'm a junkie of all the assessments that exist on the face of the planet. So my MBTA did change over years. And, some literature would suggest that it doesn't happen, but it did. I was a J. I am not anymore. So yeah, these things can change. But back to Generation Z, they are very open. We do know from our studies that they are much more aware of coaching, of professional coaching, and they are much more open to engage in coaching relationship, which I think is good news, because that means the market for coaching is growing. And another interesting tidbit about them is, and millennials for that matter as well, that they love to work with the coach within their generation. Because for the mentor, again, they of course choose somebody experienced and knowledgeable. For the coach, they love to work with somebody who lives in their own reality. So with that, I'm keeping a keen eye on the membership of the ICF, and we start seeing a little increase in younger coaches coming to the profession. And I think also the fact that the universities these days offer degrees in coaching, that tells younger people that there is a viable profession that they can enter with a university diploma in hand to prove it.
Absolutely. So that's a lot of great insight. So Magda, going to women, because what happens is that, especially in tech companies, women are very bright and they are more prone towards, or you can say that, their aptitude is towards tech. So how can we bring coaching towards women in tech and help them kind of break out of the shell and step into a common arena and even on the leadership path?
Yeah, it is already happening in some circles. So let's just unpack it, because there are so many things: women, leadership, and tech. So one by one. We do know that women come to coaching often with the issues of their self-esteem, their attitude of how to work in teams, especially if they are paired up with the male colleagues, how to show up in a leadership positions. And we know that coaching is a very potent modality in helping to grow leadership capacities. What we also know is that the traits of a modern leadership are very different than they used to be. And mind you, back to our Generation Z, there is a hugely different expectation of what leadership is from a younger populations. So vulnerability, openness, asking questions. Some of these traits are more innate to women than they are to men. So this is all pointing into a modern leadership style. So that's great already there, and we know that coaching works. What we also are seeing are some specific initiatives that are supporting women in tech. So I think it's Facebook that's a major initiative to support women in tech. And we, through our PRISM Award, we know of at least two organizations, a very large organization, one being GlaxoSmithKline, that has very specific coaching leadership development program for women, and they have a control group, so they have very solid results on the fact that individuals, ladies in this program, get promoted significantly more than ladies in the areas that they are not having that coaching support. And the other very large organization is EY, or Ernst & Young. They started offering coaching to people within their systems that it may have nothing to do with their work. It has to do with important moments in their lives. It may be becoming a first-time parent. It may be becoming a first-time caregiver for your parents, Whatever it is, I think that EY noticed that people cannot be treated in a vacuum of the systems they belong to. And the family system is definitely one of the systems they belong. So they started offering coaching for those important moments in individuals' lives. So I think the more the organizations are familiar with coaching, the more they start applying it in what one of my colleagues called the acupuncture points. So where it matters, where the impact can be the most important or the most sustainable or the most imminent. And supporting women in tech certainly seems to be one of those areas. The fact that we have some of these powerful stories of how coaching supported women in leadership, including in tech, I think may be a little bit of an encouragement to ladies and younger and older to seek coaching as yet another element of their overall career development.
Absolutely. And as we grow into our careers, whatever generation it is, or whatever gender it is, and whatever race it is, we're always looking for certifications, we're looking for degrees, tools, and toolkits. So coaching is that solid toolkit to have that in your repertoire to grow. And what I really like is that the emphasis is on the whole person. And as you see, there's so many universities, as you mentioned, like even Duke has integrative approach where they are looking at the person as a whole. It's not just in the work area, but what's happening in their personal lives. You did mention that. Now, just kind of wrapping around our conversation and bringing it to organizations, that if you can share a few insights on how coaching could be used to create a diverse and inclusive organizational culture.
Well, first of all, as you know, we do a lot of training and research, and we know that organizations with high coaching culture tend to enjoy much more engaged workforce. And that's already a great thing. The other thing we know is that there is a significant increase in the application of team or group coaching, and that cultural aspects of organizations or organizational work are being very explicitly mentioned now in organizational talk. So we also know, not from our own research, but from some other people, saying that the diverse workforce is a better workforce, is more creative, more innovative, more effective. So, again, fortunately, other fields are helping us to say, well, we knew already that's what really works for the business. So it's a business case, not necessarily nice to have. And then we offer coaching as an ability for people to talk with each other, for people to work with each other. We know that right now the highest growing element of the coaching spectrum is managers and leaders using coaching skills. That's what people come to coach training, to use some of the competencies of the coach exactly for creating the more inclusive and more diverse workforce and the atmosphere that people feel connected, valued, and respected. And that's what it's all about.
And then one of the questions that has come across is also that, coaches are not going to be able to have experience in every field. And people say, if coach does not have experience, so let's say if a coach is going and coaching somebody in IT, information technology field, coach does not have experience in information technology, how can they come and coaches? What would you say to them?
We did interesting research about internal and external coaches within the same organization, and what were the pros and cons of using either. And needless to say, it was almost like, a mirror. The pros for one application was a mirror as a con to the other. So what we see from that research, and also from some anecdotal information, is that as you well know, the relationship between client and a coach matters. So if it is very important for a client that an individual and that the coach has experience, it probably is best to find somebody with that experience. But it may not be on the top of the list. We do know that younger people don't care about it as much. As we said, they don't look for mentors. They look for people who live just their reality. Does it help sometimes? Yes. Can it create the same blind spots as an individual may have? Yes. So again, very interesting to see that sometimes having somebody from completely different field or without a knowledge in a field is very eye-opening, because the questions being asked by somebody who's not speaking the language of the industry may elicit some thinking that just simply never existed before. I will say, we as ICF would believe that every professional coach needs to be fluent in the 11 core coaching competencies. And then their additional experience, either directly from the industry or very different, may be very useful to a client as long as the client is comfortable with that arrangement. And sometimes it's a little bit of a stretch, Talk to the artist. You're gonna learn something you never thought you're gonna learn as an engineer, right? How many times did we talk to our colleagues, coaches who said, well, I'm an engineering trainer, look at me now, right? so that stretch and that challenge that we say coaching is offering may come from the very fact of working with somebody from outside of the industry.
This is, it's been such a honor and privilege to talk to you, because there's so many insights and perceptions that people have, and it's so good to just kind of talk about from a coach's perspective, and especially from your perspective, because you're talking from the language of experience and results. So definitely it has been a great time speaking to you, Magda. And would you like to share maybe a couple of parting thoughts as we wrap it up?
Sure. First of all, really thank you for inviting me to your program, because as you can tell, I can talk about coaching for as long as you give me time. I really am very happy to see that the perception of professional coaching is changed. I would not even say changing, but changed. And yet, I wish that more people would be afforded an opportunity to work with a professional coach. So this is a vision of the ICF, that coaching becomes integral part of the society. For me, one of the translation of that statement is that anybody and everybody who wants to work with a coach will have that opportunity. And that's my invitation to all the coaches who are listening. Don't stop talking about coaching and how transformative coaching is. And for those who may not know much about it, try it. Right. And with that, make sure that you are hiring a professional. Make sure that coaching is somewhat of a fashionable term these days. So make sure that you do your due diligence and make sure that you hire an individual who is trained, credentialed, prepared to offer this service, and enjoy.
Yes, no, I totally agree with you on that one, that, coaching has changed my life and in so many people's lives that I've had the pleasure to. And as you mentioned, it's a partnership, and it's a beautiful thing, because it's not about the coach, it's about the client, and seeing them step into their own and just kind of take that stage and claim it and run with it. So thank you, Magda, and thank you, coaches, and thank you, listeners, for joining us. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And Magda, would you like to share your contact information or information, so that if people want to explore, they can do so?
Absolutely. I can be reached probably the best by my email, and it's Magda, Magda.mook, MOOK, @coachfederation.org. So if anything that we said today sparked some ideas, some thinking, some questions or concerns, I would be very happy to hear from you and continue this conversation.
Well, thank you again so much. It was such a delight to spend this time with you. And of course, sharing this with folks, because, Magda, as you're in this profession, each and every one of us is in this profession because we want to make a difference. And we want to create a movement where more and more people throughout the globe are living a better life. And it's not just about going forward in the career, but living a joyous life and a harmonious life where you're helping each other out and creating a better humanity for next generation. So thank you again.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you for all of what you're doing.
Thank you.